All right, well, welcome everyone to the Home Energy Score, an affordable, reliable, and easy way to understand a home's energy performance. This course is approved for 1 hour of continuing education, AIA HSW, GBCI, NARI Green, Certified Green Professional, AIBD, and may be relevant to your state-based design or contractor license. My name is Brett Little, and I will be your host and moderator today. I am the Executive Director at the Green Home Institute. We are a nonprofit that's been around since 2000, and we exist to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. I have to thank big thanks to our Platinum Plus sponsor, Anderson Windows, for supporting these events and more. You support greener homes, you can help support these events, get discounts on other trainings, both online and in person, as well as discounts on certified green projects and more if you become an Institute member today. All right, and with that, I'm going to introduce our two guest speakers today. Glenn Dickey is a residential building technical director at the CSRA and has 25 years of experience in diagnosing and solving residential energy efficiency, comfort, and IAQ problems. He is the technical lead for the DOE Home Energy Score program, and he will be joining us for the second half of our session today. And then Gannett, she is a senior analyst with CSRA International. In her current role, she supports the implementation and the outreach efforts of the Home Energy Score program. Her career has been focused on supporting market transformation efforts of various energy-efficient technologies in regards to products in this session. So with that, Gannett, feel free to take it away.
Excellent. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today. It's definitely an exciting time even for the Home Energy Score program, and we are glad that you are interested in learning more about the program. And definitely we look forward to working with you and exploring ways where we can collaborate and make Home Energy Score happen and bring it really to every corner throughout the country. But let's just start briefly with a bit of background on what Home Energy Score is. So like Brett mentioned earlier, Home Energy Score is really a standardized MPG for home. It was launched in 2010 by Joe Biden, and since then we have had a couple of pilot and extensive analysis to strengthen the tool, the program is at a point today where we have a couple of states and utilities and nonprofits that are implementing the program and offering it to homes throughout the country. So really, in terms of what Home Energy Score is, we mentioned that it's a free, simple tool. Everyone understands the 1 to 10. So the hypothesis there that if we can design a simple energy label that homeowners and home buyers could understand it, we could even have a higher chance of them implementing and acting on energy efficiency because the message is so simple. So the program is at no cost to program provider. It was designed by the Department of Energy. It's simple and action-oriented, and we will go in details about the report in a moment. But another strength of the Home Energy Score as well is that it makes these hidden energy efficiency improvement, whether it's insulation or air barriers or HVAC, it makes it visible and in a simple way that homeowners get it. And potentially it could be used at the real estate transaction. So a couple of our states and a couple of our partners and even folks in Michigan are becoming more aggressive in terms of making energy efficiency information available at the real estate transaction. There's obviously a lot of work that will need to happen before Home Energy Score is available at every house, but just imagine like next time that you're about to buy a house, you get the Home Energy Score, and you are in a position where you can make an energy-informed decision. That's the vision for the Home Energy Score program. Another advantage also for the Home Energy Score is that it acts on this whole kind of social norming and peer pressure, and it gives homeowners an ability to compare themselves relative to their peers and relative to their neighbors. So and it can start this discussion, I'm a 5, you're a 7, how could we improve the energy efficiency of the American stock? So that's kind of a bit of a brief on what Home Energy Score is. As Brett mentioned earlier, please feel free to stop us if you have any questions on what the program is or any other questions throughout. this is the home energy score report itself. It's a 5-page report. The first page shows the score. The 2 is where this specific house is, the 6 is where it could be, and it also shows you the estimated annual savings. Some of our partners take the report a bit further where they customize it, and some partners, if they don't feel that, if they don't want to include the dollar saving, that's okay, we're comfortable with that. So there are a couple of customization options that are available if partners are aggressive and in terms of IT, and Glenn will be talking about API integration and what changes could happen there. But that's really the first page of the report. It takes about an hour or less to complete home energy score. It's about 50 data points or so. It could be generated by contractors, home inspectors, and other folks. It is online. You need internet connection for you to be able to offer the score. And again, as mentioned earlier, it is free to use. That's the first page of the home energy score report. Go ahead.
Jenna, I know you had just mentioned it's online and you have to do it online. So I guess I had 2 questions with that. Now you can use a paper tool to write it up and then generate it later if you don't have access to internet. Isn't that correct?
It is. So we have a data collection sheet which pretty much lists all the data points needed to generate the score. So some folks would just write it on a piece of paper, and when they go back to the office, they would input it and create the home energy score this way. But the majority of our partners and assessors that are using it as of now rely on this kind of kitchen table conversation. So they try to have a tablet and a printer or just the tablet in the field where they can generate the home energy score, go back inside after the audit, and have this conversation with the homeowner. This is where your home is. This is where you could be. Some of our partners feel that it's stronger if you just act on it immediately after the audit. But again, yeah, there are different ways you could implement it.
And here's a question coming from me as a millennial, and even those who are, like technology. I'm not just saying that's millennials, but what about apps or using it on your smartphone? Is that something that's possible in the field?
Yeah, so, and Glenn may need to add in a bit here. So home energy score could be used, but it's not, as of today, it's not super friendly on the, you could generate it, but it's not super friendly on your phone. But I know that a couple of our software partners are developing their own apps where you could access home energy score. Glenn, is there something you want to add there?
All I'd throw in is that you can do it on a phone or an app, or on a tablet. I wouldn't suggest it. It's pretty clunky. It's not been optimized for that. Some of our partners have built apps, but that would be probably program dependent on where you're working.
So here's a question from Patrick. Can the homeowner generate their home energy score?
No, so homeowners cannot generate their home energy score. Really, home energy score is designed as an unbiased third party, and potentially the vision is for it to be used at the real estate transaction. So if the homeowner would generate it, then I'm not sure you can really rely on it at the real estate transaction. So it's always like a contractor, an inspector, a third party who's really creating the home energy score for the homeowner.
Do you ever, and this is, I don't want to get into this too much, but do you see the home energy saver tool as sort of a easy alternative if a homeowner can't get access to the home energy score?
Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, it's certainly a choice. That one's available to the public. Actually, will take many more data points, and there's a lot of customization that the user can do if they're so inclined.
Yeah, it does seem pretty intense. So here's a question from Lauren. How about a real estate broker? Do you see these folks getting trained or utilizing this to generate HES for their clients?
So what we have seen as of today is that in some, for example, in Colorado, where the realtors are very engaged in the home energy score process, where they would recommend to the home buyers, you should get a home energy score. They would work with the inspector as their peer to offer the home energy score. But we have not seen the realtors themselves, because the realtor doesn't really do a lot of the data collection. The idea is to capitalize on the home inspector. If they are collecting the majority of the data point, is to get the home inspector to offer the home energy score in addition. The realtor play, however, a crucial role in educating the home buyer or the home seller about the home energy score, the opportunity, make sure that they kind of support them through the process. Hopefully that answered the question.
There's a lot of questions coming in about who can use this, and I know that we're going to get into that here soon. So how about we keep moving forward, and then we'll kind of get to that part. So, but thanks everybody.
Sounds good. Excellent. And I love how your audience is not shy. We usually have the other problem with the audience shy and not asking questions. So please keep it up. So that's the first page of the Home Energy Score, as we were just mentioning, and then the second part is the Home Facts, and it's 3 pages where it almost spits back the data that was collecting. But it includes here, for example, the estimated energy use that some of our partners and contractors really like it for their energy tracking purposes. But it also includes information on the insulation of the house, the window, the HVAC and the appliance, and the HVAC and the water heating that was used. Especially the vision is that homeowners could use it as a documentation and could potentially use it again at point of sale. They can use it again to show like these are what I have in the house. So that's the vision for that part. And then the last is the recommendation. One of the unique things about Home Energy Score is that it's actionable, right? So it's not just giving you a score, you are a 2, thank you, bye. But it's giving you a 2 and giving you concrete next steps on how you could get to that 7, all given cost-effective recommendations. So we use a simple payback. So any recommendation that would meet a 10-year simple payback would be included here. We broke it down into 2 groups, repair now and repair later. Again, these are like our recommendations from our tool. Some of our partners and assessors feel like they have a bit more information about incentives that are available in local area by utility, for example, so they want to customize it and add a bit more recommendation, and that's an option as well. Some of our partners and assessors do customize the recommendation, and in such a case, they also have the option of making sure that the post score here does reflect their customized recommendation that they are providing. So that's in terms of the tool. In terms of where we are with the program, we have more than 35,000 homes that have been scored since 2012, about 275 assessors throughout the country. As we mentioned, the tool is really, it's a very simple data collection tool, and Glenn will be doing a demo of the tool. The homeowners do understand it. It's simple 1 to 10. If it's greater, get it. We have some intense effort by some states that are adopting the program statewide. Colorado, Connecticut, Missouri, Oregon, and Vermont, among others. We even have some local governments in Berkeley, and I know Portland is also looking into it, that are using the Home Energy Score in disclosure, real estate disclosure, where they are recommending a Home Energy Score at point of sale. Requiring a Home Energy Score at point of sale. To give a bit of brief on like how we actually implement it, so DOE and the Home Energy Score program coordinates with the partners, and a partner could be a utility, a nonprofit, a state, a program implementer, and the program implementer coordinates with the assessor that on their turn they go and deliver the Home Energy Score to homeowners and home buyers. The Home Energy Score could be matched into home performance programs, direct install, utility rebate, real estate transaction. It's really a flexible tool that whenever there's an opportunity where you are collecting the majority of the data point, there's probably an opportunity here to kind of add on a layer of Home Energy Score. This is just the map of our existing partners. We have partners throughout the country. It's heavier in some places relative to other, and it's really some of the states and some of the areas are like super intense. Like the state of New Jersey have like maybe 14,000 homes that have been scored so far. So there are spots that are heavier than other, but in general it's an exciting time with we're getting traction more than ever throughout the country. And with that, I think I want to give it forward to Glenn to just give us a demo of the Home Energy Scoring tool. Glenn, do you want to take it forward?
So the Home Energy Scoring tool, as Gannett pointed out, consists of about 45 to 50 data points, depending on how complicated the house is. I'm going to do a quick run through of that so you can get an idea of what that entails. So when you start with the Home Energy Score, you start off just entering the address and the assessment type, and here we're just this helps us track things as well as gives an opportunity for people to not only create official scores, but also to do what-ifs and test the system to see, to check to see if things are working the way they expect them to. Basic information that we're collecting are things like the date, when was the house built, number of bedrooms, how many stories, average ceiling height, square footage, and then orientation, and then whether or not a blower door test was done. If there was a blower door test done, then there's the option to enter the CFM50 number. If no blower door test was done, then you'll either enter a yes or no to the question as whether it's been professionally air sealed. That's probably a little leakier than we probably need. Typically it takes, if you're already doing a energy audit, probably only takes another 5-10 minutes most to pick up the additional data that's needed for a home energy score. If you're doing it from scratch, you might be looking at maybe an hour to collect the data. Of course, it depends on how big the house is. But so for the next thing we're looking at is the roof and the foundation. So we're looking at the areas for the roof and the foundation. What's the roofing type, the insulation value on the underside of the roof, roof color, and then for the attic itself, what is its type, and the insulation value there. If we've got a second foundation type, we can add that here as well. And then we're going to fill out the same information for the foundation. And we can look at both the foundation wall and the foundation floor. And then we can, the home energy score is meant to be used only on single-family homes and townhouses or duplexes. If it is indeed a townhouse or a duplex, then you're going to characterize where in the row it is, whether one of the ends are in the middle, and then we're going to characterize the wall construction. So if they're all the same, then we only enter the data once. If the walls are different on at least one of the sides, then you're going to have to characterize the data on each side.
So Glenn, you're saying that this can't be used for multi-family housing with the units above, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, what about like some of these, we see a lot of homes that it's basically a home, but they made a separate living space on the second floor that has everything. What about those types of situations?
As long as the envelope is contiguous,
yeah,
it can be scored.
And you have to score the home as a whole. You couldn't just do one piece of that.
That's right.
Correct.
No, you have to. And as far as that goes, I mean, we've gotten into this conversation with some. If you've got say a small 4-unit place. I used to live in one of these with 4 units within the building. You could score the building as a whole. You just couldn't score the units individually.
As long as it's up to 4, you said?
Well, and then, yeah, that's probably about as big as you're going to get. One of the things with the home energy score, too, is unlike the HERS rating, we use an absolute scale for the 1 to 10 scale, absolute energy use. So it's not compared to a reference home. It's compared to an absolute energy use number. As the house gets bigger, it, of course, uses more energy. So at some point, it gets to the point where if you've got more than, say, 4 units, you get to 6 or 8 or something like that. The building itself gets so big that the numbers don't necessarily mean anything anymore.
Thanks.
Yep. And then we're going to enter the information about the skylights and the windows. We're going to start off with window areas on each side of the house. We don't expect the assessors to actually measure each window and things like that. We just want a sort of a gross area. Typically, houses only have 3, maybe 4 window sizes anyway, so maybe you need to measure one or two to get your bearings, but most of us who have done any number of audits can look at a window and tell whether it's a 4x6 or a 3x5, and that's pretty much all we're really looking for. And then characterize the windows, and we can either do it through a U-factor and SHGC. Typically, we don't have that, and so we're going to characterize it as the number of panes of glass, the framing material, and the glazing type.
Glenn, a question came in about, I guess, let's just say alternative wall systems, ones perhaps where thermal bridging is reduced, or ICF or SIPS panels. Are there ways to identify those uniquely?
We don't have a lot of detail on the specialized types, but we do allow, you can come fairly close with the right number by using the insulation values that are provided. So, for example, if you've got a SIP panel, you can use R21 for the wall insulation, and you can come pretty close. The thing to remember, too, with home energy score is that we're only talking about a 10-point scale. So we don't have the same level of granularity as, say, a HERS rating that's a 1% jump for each energy use increment. So we're not looking for the same level of precision to come up with a home energy score, so we don't need quite so much detail on the house itself. Now we get to system types, the heating, cooling, and hot water. So we're going to characterize the amount of the house that's served by the heating system and the cooling system. What's the type? We can either enter the efficiency value or the manufacturer install date. We push hard to get people to enter the efficiency, especially for the high efficiency equipment. If you average that out using the install date, the equipment is going to get penalized, especially if it's high efficiency. And then the ducts, we're going to characterize where are they, what percentage of them is represented, and whether they're insulated or air sealed. We do not take information from duct blasters. That's not required, and it is not a field that we can't accept that data. And then lastly, we're going to characterize the hot water system. And again, we can enter the energy factor or the install manufacturer date. Click View Summary, and it will give you just a synopsis of the data that you entered. This can take a minute or two. You review that, quick today. Review that and make sure that the values are as you expected, and then we generate the label. Verify that it is as you saw it, and we're not going to wait for this. This takes a minute or two, and Ganetto re-provided the example score that we saw. So just a little bit about accuracy. Each time we make significant changes to the home energy score calculation engine, NREL does some analysis for us and compares our ability to accurately calculate energy use compared to the HERS software, the RIM rate software, as well as something called Simple that Blasnik has done. And basically what these three graphs tell us is that generally we do a pretty good job. We're a little less biased than, so that on this home energy score is the yellow. I think Simple is the green, and ResNet is the red. So we're a little less biased on the natural gas side. A little better clustered for than ResNet here. We align pretty closely with Simple there on the electricity, and overall similar sort of results. So we feel pretty good about how we're comparing to other industry softwares.
So there are some questions coming in about new construction, and what the approach is to that from a builder or architectural standpoint, using this tool as an architect or as a building designer, to do this from a pre-construction standpoint.
You can certainly do it. You can't. It wouldn't be an official score, so I've forgotten now what HERS calls it, a preliminary or something like that. So it would be that kind of score. You could certainly do that. The one thing, and you can score a new home. What we typically find is that may not be your best choice if you really want to show it off, because again, it is an absolute energy use scale. As the house gets bigger, which of course more new houses tend to be bigger now than they used to be, they may not score a 10 just because you meet the IECC 2009. So it's certainly possible and it can be done, but you want to look at the answer it's going to provide you. Brett, did you go away again?
Glenn, so we were looking at this idea of, you mentioned the 10 being the cutoff and the HERS index being much more incremental. And one of the ways that we're looking at this tool for new construction is actually going to that second page and looking at the total MBTUs. Now, is that a place where you can find some value in this if you want to go, let's say, beyond a 10, whether you're doing a deep energy retrofit
Sure.
or a very tight new construction project?
Of course, yeah. And there are a bunch of metrics that the tool calculates that's available to you as a download off of what we call our partner portal, including things like KBTU per square foot and actual energy, site energy numbers such as kWh electricity and gas, therms of gas and things like that. So there are some additional numbers there that might be useful in that respect.
Right. And just this question, coming in here, just to reiterate it, we all know that a larger home is going to use more energy. So on comparison, right, if you had the same type of home, different size, the one with the smaller home is going to score better. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Energy use is based on partially on surface area, exposed surface area, and the bigger the house, the more exposure there is. So
right.
All things being equal, a large house will have higher energy use.
And then a question, and we get this quite a bit several times for these types of scoring tools. But just to confirm, if you were to take a look at a year's worth of utility data, there's no way that could be embedded to create an official home energy score label. Is that correct?
No. That, for one thing, home energy score is an asset, what we call an asset rating. So it's based strictly on the characteristics of the house and the systems within it. The bill type audit would be an operational audit or assessment, which doesn't, it includes the lighting and the cooking and the laundry and the thermostat settings and all of those things, whereas with Home Energy Score, we standardize those so that you can compare the energy use of two different houses on an apples-to-apples sort of basis.
Mm-hmm. Great. What about solar energy? How can this play a role in the tool?
Our next version is going to incorporate PV solar. At this point, I don't know when that's going to happen, and I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. We're doing some analysis now as to how that's going to be worked in. So I don't have a good answer for you other than it's coming soon, and keep an eye out.
Great. Is there a way to use any of the inputs in this to produce a ACCA manual J type calculations, or have you seen anybody be able to connect the two systems for that?
I was contacted by ACCA maybe a year ago to use the API, which I'm about to discuss, in which case you could enter the data into an ACCA manual J software, and then the data would be passed to the score and provide the score from there. But we don't work the other way, so you wouldn't be able to take a home energy score and provide the data to ACA through an API sort of thing.
Sure. Well, yeah, why don't you, I had a few other questions coming in and jump into the API concept.
Okay. Okay, so if you're already doing an energy assessment or an energy audit, it's burdensome to have to enter the data a second time, and so that's what this API eliminates. So the idea here is that a software developer, a software company, spends the time to make the connection between their software and the home energy score calculation engine, so that when you enter the data into whatever software you might be using, the data is automatically transferred to the home energy score. The calculations are done, and then the label is provided back to you to provide to the homeowner. Currently, we have something on the order of 4 or 5 softwares that have been approved, and that includes Energy Savvy's Optics, Optimizer. Cake Systems has a couple of iterations that have been approved. For home inspectors, the Home Inspector Pro software has been approved, and we have a proprietary software in Connecticut that's been approved. And Gannett, if I missed one, let me know, but I think that's the primary ones right now anyway.
Yep.
Let's see, and so the first step to becoming a home energy score qualified assessor is to hook up with a partner. So Home Energy Score doesn't oversee assessors directly. The DOE and the consulting staff here is a grand total of 5, and so we can't handle assessors on a one-to-one basis. So we count on our local partners to gather the assessors and work with them directly, and then so you sign up with your local partner, they provide us the information about you, and we set up accounts in what we call our training and testing, online training and testing platform. I'm going to give you a quick overview of how that works. I think Brett's also going to provide you with a link that'll give you why did my tongue quit working? A link that'll give you a brief video that you'll be able to look at as well. That'll give you a little more information. I can get a little too deep in this, a little too fast, and I'm going to try to stay at a high level. So this is the way the interface looks when you first get on. Sort of the nuts and bolts of the thing is the sim itself, where it works much like a gaming sort of interface. You move through the house to collect the information. We have a lot of these, what they call teleport buttons. These little buttons up here will take you into the house. We can go down into the crawl space where our HVAC equipment is, and we'll collect the data about that and the insulation levels. And then over here we have our clipboard for the data collection. That looks very much like the home energy score. The data elements are the same. As you can see, the pages here are the same as they are in the home energy scoring tool itself. Excuse me. We'll go up into the attic, and here we'll actually measure the depth of the insulation and characterize how well it's installed, and then we provide tools for you to define what the insulation value is, which would then be entered into onto the clipboard. So you work through all of the data entry points. We've got several other tools here. We've got a tape measure so that you can measure the area of the house, and we've got a compass for the orientation, and a lighter for determining panes of glass and things like that. So we try to provide all the tools you need in order to go through and do the assessment. There are several levels of this. So the first thing you do is basically learn how to use the tool. Let's move that out of the way. And we provide you this user's manual. It sort of is a jump start to do that. One thing I would highly recommend to anybody who elects to join us and become an assessor with us, when you're provided the information for accessing the SIM, what we call the SIM, the online training and testing platform, follow the guidance we provide you. Start at the beginning and work through to the end and follow that information that we provide. It's much simpler to work through it that way. We've got some people who, and I can be this way as well, I will admit I am a man. Directions are not always my forte. You're going to be much better off if you actually follow the guidance. You'll get through it much quicker. So there's the learning to use the SIM. Then we have you work through what are called challenge homes, just basically to prove that you do understand and can work through the SIM. And once you're through that step, then there are 2 additional houses that don't look like anything you've seen before that are the tests. So you work through those 2. And then there's a multiple choice test as well, just on the basics of the home energy score. So not so much the data collection, but more about what is the score, what do the numbers mean, what do the recommendations mean, how are they calculated, things like that. Typically, well, I've had one person tell me they got through the whole thing in 5 hours. I don't think that's really possible. I also have had some people tell me that it's taken more than 20 hours and they didn't finish. They didn't follow the guidance that was provided. I think typical time spent in the SIM is probably somewhere between 8 and 12 hours at most. If you sit down and spend some time with it, focus on it, you'll get through it a little quicker than if you're back and forth and in and out of it. But once you've successfully completed that, then you become a qualified assessor and you're off to start scoring houses. If I can remember. So the assessor requirements, basically, we worked with the local industry representatives to come up with what needs to be the starting credential. And so we've got ASHI and BPI and Green Building Institute and InterNACHI and NAHI, and there's a whole bunch of them there that we've got sort of baseline start points. Then, as I said, you work with the partner. You go through the SIM and the tests, and then there is a quality assurance requirement. So 5% of the houses that you score have to be rescored by a second individual. It can happen concurrently. We just ask that people not work together to come up with those numbers. So that we can actually verify that we're getting consistent and accurate scores amongst assessors. And then also we have a mentoring element that that first assessment that you do, you go out with somebody who has some experience, some knowledge, and just reinforce the things that you learned in the SIM. There are a few things that are not covered in the SIM that the mentor can help you with to make sure that we do get that consistency that we're looking for. And so here's just a list of some of the organizations and the starting qualification or certification. The Home Energy Score .gov website has the most current list of this, including the Green Building Institute, Green Building Rater certification. And Brad, I may not have called that the right thing. If not, I apologize.
That's okay. We'll cover it.
Sort of our newest and greatest, most exciting piece of information or about the program is that HUD has linked the home energy score to the FHA loan programs. If the house scores a 6 or better or can be brought up to a 6 or better, they can provide a 2% stretch on the income to debt to income ratio. So this allows somebody who might be on the margin of buying a house the opportunity to get a little more house or get a more energy efficient house that maybe they could afford otherwise. So this is exciting. This is going to, we think, drive some of the market and certainly helps us get more homes scored. Ultimately, we've got to get the home inspectors involved because they're in millions of houses a year, and for this to really matter, those are the kind of numbers we have to get. I think Gannett said we've got about 35 or 36,000 houses scored in the last 3 years. At 10,000 houses a year, it's going to be a long time before we matter. So we're looking to get our numbers up just about any way that we can. Go ahead.
Glenn, I did want to keep talking a little bit more about the value proposition, and there was well, I guess just to speak to some of the other benefits, we see in our own backyard here in Holland, Michigan. Really exciting to see they're rolling out an on-bill financing mechanism through their local utility in the city, and they're going to be giving out solar incentives for people who can hit an 8 on the score. So it's always great to see that this tool being embedded. But there was a question from Bob here. It looks like he's doing some great work in New York on trying to get this embedded into the MLS, or what they call multiple listing services. We know that there's the sort of the green MLS moving throughout the country. I can think of Florida, Colorado, most of Minnesota, half of Wisconsin, here in West Michigan where I'm at, Traverse City, Chicagoland. Are you seeing the home energy score getting embedded into sort of this green MLS movement?
We're certainly working on it, and Gannett may have a little to add to this as well. My client, the DOE program manager for this, her name is Joan Glickman. Excuse me, and she also oversees something called the Home Energy Information Accelerator. So we're working with data people in the real estate industry, as well as real estate professionals, realtors, and software providers to make it easier to get the data from Home Energy Score, and as far as that goes, any of the other scores, whether it be LEED or HERS or any of the rest of them, get that data moved from where it is to the MLS so that people can take advantage of it. As to how quickly that's going to happen, I suspect after finding out that there are 700 MLSs across the country, that it's going to be spotty. We've got some places like Colorado that are way ahead of the curve and actually already entering Home Energy Score and HERS information in the MLS, and then there are other MLSs that don't even have those fields in their database. Go ahead.
Just to add quickly, so Colorado does have a home energy score field on the majority of MLSs in the state of Colorado, and they are working on adding a home energy score field throughout the state by the end of the year. But as Glenn said, it is spotty. So folks in Cincinnati, they have home energy score on the MLS. Folks in folks in Colombia are also working on it. And even like we are talking with NYSERDA in the state of New York about a home energy score pilot. And I know that like long term, or I'm hoping medium term even, the home energy score will be on the green MLS. So yeah, it's spotty, but we are already seeing some success.
Great, thanks. Well, there's a lot of questions pouring in. We definitely got some more time here. I wanted to cover 2 quick things before we jump into some more in-depth conversation and questions. You 2 have some time to stick around?
Sure.
Great. Well, yeah, real quick, I did want to cover the latest credential that you all have added as a background to obtaining your home energy score credential or assessorship, and that is our Certified Green Home Professional program. This is an entirely online, on-demand, just-in-time program, which I would say is fair to say for the most part, just like the home energy score assessor training, besides the mentorship, where we've put together 3 different really good resources that are both continually improved, as well as have some what we call optional electives. So what we have is the Blue House Energy on-demand building science basic course, which sort of just like the simulator brings you into a home and shows you how to do weatherization and home performance work visually, and you take some quizzes. So a really cool tool with our partners out of Canada there. Then we also have a green building, highly rated green building book, and we're going to have some chapters and quizzes on that to get this credential that you can take. And then we have a majority of the webinar series that we've been doing, a lot of the ones you've all been tuning into. Some of those are elective courses, other ones are required courses. This course actually here that you're taking now is going to most likely be one of the elective courses within our tool. So you can check that out on our website under the Learn link, and this again is one of the baseline ways that you can also become a home energy score assessor. On that note too, our technical committee for the GreenStar program has approved this tool as a way to score a majority of your energy points in a remodel, addition, rehab, and a new construction. So really what you do is you do a test-in or plan review on a new construction with your rater or approved contractor, assemble the scope of work based on the recommendations, do a test out on the new construction or remodel and rescore or get your latest score or real score on a new construction. And then from there, what the number we're actually looking for GreenStar is that total MBTUs. And what you're going to do is you're going to convert that over to kilowatt hours and then get an EUI. So you're going to embed it, divide it by year and divide it by square foot. And you can drop that right into the GreenStar tool and pick up a majority of your points that way. Definitely for remodels, this tool is built for remodels. And so that's another way that we're really excited to be rolling this program out. So I'm going to go back to your slides here, Glenn, and get to some of these other questions before we wrap up soon. So I guess, you were talking about incorporating solar energy as a means to the score, and some other questions kind of on that concept started rolling in. And really they were looking at, are you going to be incorporating wind or biogas or other types of renewables, or is the focus at first just on solar?
We're going to start with solar. That certainly is the primary renewable available to people right now. We're always looking to improve the tools, so the others may come along, but I don't know when that would happen.
Are there any plans to build this out to a low-rise multifamily residential program?
Not at this time, but I think it's something we ultimately will end up having to do. But I don't know when that might happen. The one thing to keep in mind is that you almost have to use a different scale for apartments. You can almost guarantee that they're going to score somewhere between a 7 or higher just because of their size. Again, because we're talking about an absolute energy scale. As soon as you get 2 or 3 or even 5, sides against other apartments, then the energy use on those units are going to be very, very low. Right. So you can almost look at it and get an idea of how it would compare, certainly within a given building.
Okay. So here's a question. Clearly the HERS index, the lower the better you are, right? Zero is zero energy. Right. The ultimate goal. The home energy score is the higher the better you are. So what? I guess the question is, what was the reasoning for sort of kind of deviating from the HERS index and rewarding for a higher score through this program?
A lot of it came mostly from market research and what people sort of intuitively understand without having it explained to them. And it's we all went to school, and we know that 100 is a good score, and a 50 is not a good score, and anything lower than that, you're really in a lot of trouble. And so that was sort of the primary driver. Also, just trying to explain. If you've ever attempted to explain the HERS scale to anybody, it can get pretty complicated pretty quickly, and very rarely is it grasped the first time by a layperson. This we just thought was something that was more easily grasped and understood without going into a lot of explanation about how it's calculated.
Yeah, great point. I personally am not a home energy rater or performance assessor or anything like that, but I was able to, for the most part, working with my colleague, go in and score my entire home. But I've looked at the inputs for the HERS index, and it's just wow. So, and we were able to get it pretty close. So, I do think that's one of the benefits we see is this, making it simpler, especially for some of these folks who have, who are architects or designers. And maybe not energy raters to be able to use this to help guide in their plans.
Well, and I mean, part of our mandate by the White House when they asked us to work to put this together was something that was fairly low cost, reasonably accurate, and as easily implementable as possible. And HERS does a good job at what it does. It does a fantastic job at what it does, but it's focused much more on new construction where you can see everything that's going on, and it's worth putting in the extra time. Existing homes, so much of it you can't really see. It's open much more to interpretation as you're working through the house, and to actually try to collect the level of data that HERS requires gets into very much a discussion of, is it really worth spending 4 hours at a house, which is oftentimes what it costs to do a HERS rating on site, for what may not be a whole lot of improved accuracy. So that's part of what has driven the home energy score, is this balance between some sort of absolute energy number that you can hang your hat on, and the ability to get a reasonable answer in a reasonable amount of time.
Great, thanks, Glenn. Well, we've got a couple more minutes for questions, but right before we get there, let me just reiterate for those listening here live, this session is being recorded, and you will be able to access it on demand on our website here by the end of the week. And also make sure to take your survey, which should be found when this session closes out, or sent to you through email, as well as your continuing education certificates. For those of you listening on demand, make sure to take the 10-question quiz here at the end. So before we wrap up, those who are listening in, it looks like we do have a few home energy score assessors, and some of the current concerns that we saw on the field with home performance contractors was the concern of their first approach to the tool, and seeing that the auto-populated recommendations that the home energy score makes maybe not lining up with either with the services that they provide or what opportunities that they saw. So what are some ways that especially home performance contractors or raters who have some alternative recommendations, can they make some of those alternative recommendations in the scoring tool?
We do have the functionality to do that. Right now, it's a little clunky, but it's certainly doable. And the idea would be, and much like HERS, some of the HERS software as well. But the idea is that you run the house as it is, and then you run it a second time with the improvements, what you want to see. So maybe the home energy score recommended that the insulation in the attic be raised to R38. You think R49 is a better answer. Then you would run the house the second time with the R49 insulation instead. And maybe there were 2 or 3 other things that either didn't show up on the home energy score recommendations list, or that you thought should be extended a little further. So you build that second house, so to speak, with those improvements included. You can then create the home energy score that will show the upgrade, the existing home where it stands now, where it would be if you implemented all the upgrades that were recommended by the assessor. in that second run. And then on the last page, the recommendations page, directs the customer to talk with their assessor to get the list of recommendations for that improvement. A little further down the road, we're going to make that a little easier for the assessors to do the upgrades more real time rather than double entry, but that's probably not until late this year, maybe early next year before that gets in place. But we do recognize it as something that would make it a little more user friendly and easier for the assessors to implement. And I don't think we hit it, but just so you know, the recommendations is based on, we use state average utility rates for the energy use numbers. We use national average installation costs for those numbers, and then the recommendations are based on 10-year payback. Anything that meets a 10-year payback will show up on the list. Anything that doesn't will not be there. And of course we're not taking into account local incentives. So if there are rebates that would make that more cost effective, we're not able to track all of that. And so it certainly makes sense for the assessor to sort of take over the recommendations at that point.
Great. And last thing here, quality assurance. How do you guys ensure that these are that the raters are in there doing the correct inspections and testing? So
we do that a couple of ways. Every home energy score that's entered into the tool, whether it be directly through the web interface or through the API, that data is collected in our database, and we have access to that and do quality assurance on that. Consistency checking, are the equipment efficiencies within reasonable bounds. We also do some stuff to make sure that we're getting, nobody is overly biased. Is one assessor always scoring their houses 8 or better? Those kind of things. But then also the quality assurance with the second assessor coming in, either concurrently or behind the initial run. We look at that direct comparison to see are we getting the same answers, and if not, then we get back with the partner to follow up with the assessors, and if that means whether it be some additional guidance, some more training, we do what we can to get everybody together.
All right. Well, hey, I really want to thank Glenn and Gannett for their time here today. Thank you all for joining us. Right before we wrap up here, Glenn, where can people find out more information if they want to learn more?
We can go to the homeenergyscore.gov web page. If you have questions about being an assessor at sra.com. Or talk with Brett if you want to sign up with the Green Building Institute. They are a partner, and they can get you set up to get into the SIM and start the path to becoming a qualified assessor.
Great. Well, thank you, Glenn and Gannett. Thank you guys for joining us. This is Brett Little, Executive Director at the Green Home Institute, signing off with our Introduction to the Home Energy Score webinar. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Brett.